Things aren't better now than they were 4 or 5 years ago. This has been a tough time for Derry. You see some shops that are boarded up, and people who are running shops have indicated that business is trailing off, and they expected things to get better in 2011. It hasn't happened. You can't blame George Bush anymore. President Obama is going to have to take responsibility for the fact that we're still in a very troubled economy. And you can't solve a crisis unless you recognize a crisis. The president's been celebrating the auto industry coming back. Recognize at the same time we see unemployment going to 9.1%. He indicated this is just a bump on the road. It's not a bump on the road. These are Americans. And Americans are suffering. The president needs to recognize that there is a crisis in this country and devote every ounce of his energy to getting Americans back to work. It was I think it was a very good debate for everyone there. We were respectful to one another, and we aimed our rhetoric towards the president where it was deserved. And so I thought everybody was actually lifted a bit by the experience last night. It was fun for me to be back in the same venue I'd been before. I think I had a good debate 4 years ago. I thought I had a good debate last night, but I thought the others did as well. We all agree that Obamacare is the wrong direction for the nation. And if people want to look at what's happening in Massachusetts, why, I'm not running for governor of Massachusetts. I'm running for president of the United States, and my plans for the nation are like those of the other governors, just a little more specificity. And I'm looking forward, hopefully, to get the chance to debate President Obama on Obamacare. And I think I'll be pretty effective in showing why what he has crafted is bad for the nation, bad for health care, and ought to be repealed. We would not make a decision on withdrawal dates based upon the cash flow or based upon political favors, but instead, or political benefit, but instead based upon the capacity of the Afghan troops to preserve independence in their country. And so we will be looking for the report that comes from the generals in the field giving us the data, and ultimately with that data, the commander-in-chief will have to make the decision as to what withdrawal timetable is appropriate. My own view is that there will be some who argue, oh, it's too expensive now, we've got to bring the troops home right now, or others will say, hey, politically, we need to make one decision or another. You don't make a decision about our involvement in a conflict based on the dollars and cents alone, or certainly not with regards to politics. I think we also recognize that we will be looking to the Afghan people and the Afghan military and the Afghan civil leadership to step up to preserve what has been won for them. It's helpful to have actually created jobs, to understand how an economy works because you've worked in it, to sign the front side of a payroll check. I say that to create jobs, it helps to have had a job. I had a job for 25 years in the private sector. That experience will help me, if I'm elected president, craft solutions that actually make a difference. So we can, for instance, we can all talk about trade that's fair and that is also open markets with fair terms, but actually knowing how to craft those agreements and knowing which elements will improve jobs and which elements hurt jobs, that's something which can only come with experience. I have lived in the economy. I know what the terms mean. I know when we're going to craft an agreement with Colombia or with China, what impact that will have on enterprise, because I've lived it. And there's a huge advantage, in my opinion, not to have only spoken about a topic as academics do, but actually having, or economists do, but actually having been in the world of the economy. And I make no comments about anybody on our side of the aisle, but I do make a comment about President Obama. He had no experience in the private sector, and he surrounded himself in his cabinet with virtually no one who had private sector experience, and it shows.